Good morning, everybody. My name is Ted Downing, and I would like to welcome everyone to our second session in this Unemployment in the Time of COVID-19 series, sponsored jointly by the Job Connector by MIT and the City of Cambridge. I'll talk a little bit more about what to expect from the third and final installment in the series later on, but we'll start with some minor housekeeping first. This is the same as the housekeeping that we talked about during the last session, if you were here, but we'll go through it again just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Our event is being held through Zoom webinar tonight, and just in case you are not familiar with the features, I'll walk you through it. Unlike a standard Zoom video conference, attendants will not be able to see their video or be able to use the audio to speak. However, we do want to hear your thoughts, concerns, and questions, which you can get to us by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you're using a handheld device, this may look differently, so you just want to take a moment to familiarize yourself with the layout. Additionally, you notice a raised hand button at the bottom of the screen. If you raise your hand, one of the moderators can message you directly. This presentation is also being recorded and hosted on YouTube and Facebook. Questions are anonymous to the entire group, but not to the moderators. We're happy to follow up with all unanswered questions after the presentation. And feel free to begin to use the Q&A tool if you have any basic questions about the Zoom webinar features. So now that we've gotten through that, I'd like to introduce my team from the Job Connector by MIT. I'm accompanied here by two of my colleagues, Hector Acevedo and Gennady Jean Charles. Additionally, we have members from our teams, MIT's Office of Government and Community Relations supporting us today. If you're not familiar with the Job Connector, please visit our website at jobconnector.mit.edu, and we can paste that in the chat. And so now, without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to the CLC and Felipe.
Hi, thank you, Ted. My name is Felipe Vaquerano. I'm an Education and Career Advisor at the Community Learning Center in Cambridge. And it's an honor to be working with a very nice team today. The presenters are Jen Chan, Abra Berkowitz, and Laurie Siegel, Career Advisors from the Community Learning Center. And Michael Merullo, Program Manager at Cambridge Works and Employment and Training Program. And a special shout out for Valerie Hammond, who is another career advisor at the Community Learning Center. Valerie, we're so excited that you're working with us. For those who are not familiar with CLC, we are an organization that was founded in 1971, so we have a nice history. And our mission is to empower a diverse community of adult learners to transform their lives through education, skills development, and community participation. We are located right off Central Square and on Range Avenue in North Cambridge. Under the umbrella of the Human Services Program, CLC offers a variety of adult education programs to Cambridge residents. These services include English classes, citizenship classes, basic reading, writing, and math, preparation for HiSET and GED, high school diploma, GED classes to obtain a high school diploma, preparation for college, and careers in healthcare and information technology. We also provide education and career advising to help our students navigate our classes and to support students with finding employment, and in this case, applying for unemployment. Collaborating with us for this opportunity is the Office of Workforce Development. Their mission is to expand employment and training opportunities for Cambridge residents by developing partnerships with employers, community-based organizations, Cambridge schools, and post-secondary institutions. The Office of Workforce Development offers a variety of programs, including the Cambridge Employment Program. The Cambridge Employment Program supports Cambridge residents through career counseling. Cambridge Works is a transitional job program that provides Cambridge residents age 18 to 35. If you are between the ages of 18 and 35, this is a great program for you. It includes paid internship, professional development training, and case management. Our agenda for today is broken into 4 parts. The first part will cover how to file for unemployment and request weekly benefits. This part will take about 20 minutes. The second part is how to file for pandemic unemployment assistance. You'll see that there are two different ways to apply for unemployment. Part 3, we'll talk about common pitfalls, very important. And part 4 is the questions and answers. Now I have the honor to pass this on to our first presenter, Michael Marullo.
Thank you very much, Felipe. My name is Michael Marullo, and I work at the Cambridge Office of Workforce Development. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. This first section will take about 20 minutes or so. We'll go through if you're eligible for unemployment, and then we'll review step-by-step instructions on how to file for standard unemployment insurance. Please note that these instructions and information were taken directly from the DUA website. The link is here and will be added to the chat room as well. Before going into the step-by-step process, it's important to know that there are two strands of unemployment benefits. The standard unemployment insurance and the pandemic unemployment assistance, which we'll get to later on in the presentation. To be eligible for the standard unemployment benefits, you must have earned at least $5,100 during the last 4 completed calendar quarters and 30 times the weekly benefit amount you would be eligible to collect. You must be legally authorized to work in the United States. You must be employed, or you must be unemployed or working significantly reduced hours through no fault of your own. Be able and willing to begin suitable work without delay when offered. Now for the step-by-step instructions. Again, these slides are taken directly from the Department of Unemployment Assistance website. Before you begin, make sure you have your Social Security number or alien registration number with you. Also, take a look at the top banner, which includes your progress in the blue boxes. A yellow box will indicate where you are in the process. You will see that we are at Getting Started. It is really helpful to have your W-2 form with which will have the legal name of your employer on it. Make sure you have your employer or employer's information with you, which includes name, address, and phone number. If you don't know the address or the phone number, for example, we recommend you Google the company to get this correct information. If you plan to claim dependents, please have their Social Security numbers with you. If you plan to receive your payment by direct deposit, have the bank account and routing number ready. Here we have listed the recommended web browsers to use, such as Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Chrome. Safari is not a recommended browser. So now that you've cleared the prep work to gather the information you will need, it is time to apply for unemployment benefits. And you will click the link and arrow in the green box. If you need to first check if you are eligible for unemployment, you can click the check eligibility link, which is number 2 on your screen. If not, click the link again to apply for benefits online, number 1. Looking at this screen, please note that as you move forward, the red asterisk means that you must enter the requested information in order to move forward. For your Social Security number, do not use dashes. It is important on this page to check the box that you have read and understand the information, and that DUA will be verifying your information, and that you also need to make sure you've entered the correct Social Security number twice. If you do not do these things, you will not be able to go to the next screen. This page has some helpful links if you have further questions, and also the link to get started with the application. All right, here is a very important point to remember. When you move forward through the application, only use the previous or next buttons provided at the bottom of the page. Do not use the back button at the top of your web browser window. This will cause you to lose all of the information you've already provided. Again, use previous or next buttons only that are at the bottom of the page to move forward or back in the process. This is to authorize the Department of Unemployment Assistance to determine your eligibility. You will have to check yes to continue. Okay, if you look at the top blue ribbon, you will see that we have moved to the begin your claim part of the process. Your progress will move more quickly now on the ribbon. Here you will check no if you did not work last week, or yes if you worked part-time hours last week. On the next screen, you will enter 0 for the hours that you've worked last week, or if you work part-time, enter the amount of hours that you worked. And now we are on to the personal information part of the process, as you can see at the top in the yellow box along the blue ribbon. Here you will answer these work-related questions by checking all that apply to you and then enter your address. A match for your address will come up on the next screen with a 4-digit extension number on the zip code. Click either address to proceed. On this screen, you want to make sure you type in the correct Social Security number and the correct driver's license number, and then double check these numbers. Incorrect information will cause a delay or possibly a decline in benefits. Again, do not use hyphens when entering your Social Security number. Please write down, here's where you'll enter a password. You'll also have to select a security question and an answer to that security question. We recommend that you write this information down on a piece of paper or in your phone so that you'll have it to refer back to each week when you're claiming your benefits. Remember to check this box if your mailing address is the same as the address that you reside. If not, add your mailing address. For example, if you use a P.O. box or have mail delivered to a different address, then you will add it here. Here you will enter your personal contact information, which includes the telephone number or numbers and email. The DUA would also like to know the best way to communicate with you, either by email or U.S. mail. It is best to use electronic mail or email as a means for correspondence, so you will get information more timely. If you do not have an email address, we suggest setting up one today. You will now complete the additional information. Remember that a red asterisk means it must be completed. On question 8, you will answer yes or no if you have qualified dependent children. At the top of the next screen, you will see that we have moved to the employment overview on the ribbon. Here you will answer some questions about your work status. If your employer has given you a return to work date, you will provide it here. On this screen, you'll enter your job title. Then you'll click search. Go to next, and some options will come up on this screen, and you will check the one that closest matches your job title and description. Here you will enter the number of years that you have worked at your place of employment. We are now on to the tax and payment information tab. Here you will select if you want state and federal taxes taken out of your benefit. Keep in mind, if you choose not to have taxes taken out of your unemployment benefit, you may have to pay this amount back when you file for your tax return. On the next screen, you have two options to receive your benefit, either by direct deposit into your personal bank account or an unemployment debit card. To have your benefit directly deposited into your bank account, you will enter the routing number and the account number of your bank account here and click Submit. It is now my pleasure to turn the presentation over to Laurie Siegel, a career counselor with the Community Learning Center. Hello, Laurie.
Hi, Michael. Thank you very much. As you can see from the progress bar at the top, we have moved to the next section of the application. Michael explained the part of the application that is about you. Now you need to enter information about your employers. So where does the money come from that pays for unemployment benefits? Employers pay into an insurance fund that pays these benefits. That's why you need to have a minimum of time that employers have paid into the system for you to be eligible for these benefits. So you should add the information for all the employers you've had for the last 15 months. If you've had more than one, put them all in because your calculated benefit will be higher. It's best if you have your W-2 forms so you have the legal names of the companies, which can be different from the names that everybody uses to talk about these companies. The more accurate your information, the faster your claim will be processed. On this page, you can enter the employer's name and click Update. The full name of the employer should appear. If it doesn't, you can use the drop-down menu under Employment Type to help. Type the legal name here and the city where the company has its main office. For example, if you work for CVS, the headquarters are in Rhode Island, in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. If you enter the information correctly, the system should give you the federal ID number. If not, and you have the W-2 form from that employer, you can enter the federal ID number here. Since the department, since DOA staff check with the employer to see if the information you provided is accurate before they pay your benefits, having the correct information to identify the company will get you your benefits faster. This page just confirms your employer. Check to make sure it's correct. Okay, now this is where you enter your work location, which might be different from the main office. For example, if you work for CVS in Cambridge, you enter the address of the store where you worked, not the headquarters. Then enter the date that you started your job and the last day that you worked. Enter your job title, and the same standard descriptions will come up, and you click the one that best fits your job. This should be the same as the one that Michael described earlier. Okay, this is where you select the reason that you are not working. If you're still working but at reduced hours, select the first option, still working. If you're planning to go back to your current job when called, select layoff because this option includes temporary layoffs. This page also gives you the option of leave of absence, but you need to have an agreement with your employer as they will check this information. This is where you confirm all the details that you entered. And now you can see from the progress bar at the top, we have entered the last section for entering information. We're on the home stretch. So you need to tell if you are getting money from other sources, like from a union, workers' comp insurance, severance pay, paid time off, vacation pay, anything, all of those which will reduce your benefit. but it is considered to be fraud to not declare this income while taking money from unemployment insurance. This page summarized the rules for standard unemployment insurance, which includes being able and ready to work and actively looking for work. To receive benefits, you need to document that you are doing 3 activities per week to look for a new job on a work search log. Under the current pandemic, where many employees are expecting to go back to their previous jobs, this requirement does not apply. As long as you stay in contact with your employer, you are considered to be in compliance with their requirements. But given that for so long it's been a standard requirement, the department often automatically sends out work search logs to recipients of benefits who are planning to go back to their current jobs. This is confusing and can be ignored if you're planning to go back. If you're actually permanently laid off, your employer will report that to the DUA and you will need to be looking for a new job. Okay, now as you can see from the progress bar at the top, you are now in the review stage. The next 7 slides gives you the opportunity to review all the information you have entered. Check it carefully to see if you've made any mistakes. So 7 different slides. Just review. Okay, here you have to check the box that all of this information is true, and you have to enter your Social Security number one last time to confirm that all of this information is true. You're signing your life on this, the truth of this, and you hit the Submit Unemployment Benefit Application key. This form just provides confirmation that your claim was submitted. You can print this if you want. Or you can go to your UI homepage, your unemployment insurance homepage, where you can see the message your application has been received and your employers are being contacted for verification of the information. This is, this is the homepage you will see every time you log in to check your status or ask for your weekly benefits. You'll get a tour of that process soon, but we're going to take a break now to ask some questions on this part of the presentation. Junardi Jean Charles, Program Administrator at MIT's Job Connector, will take over now.
Thank you, Lori. As Lori mentioned, we have come to the section where we will do some Q&A. And this is only the first section in the presentation where we will do Q&A. We have a section towards the end as well. Just in case you missed Ted's introduction, you want to ask your questions on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please do not ask any questions in the chat box. So let's get started. We have a question from a participant. If I made a mistake in impacted date while applying pandemic unemployment, is there any way to correct it?
Sure. Hi, I can answer that one. Hello, my name's Abra. I also work at the Community Learning Center. So you can absolutely correct your mistake, but you are going to end up having to call DUA on their phone number. And we can put their phone number right down in the chat so that you can see it.
I'd like to add and suggest is they open at 8:30 a.m. Try to call right at 8:30, and your wait time should be less than if you called midday.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, next question. I had unemployment last year and exhausted my benefits. Am I eligible for an extension due to the CARES Act?
Sure.
The long and
yeah. You can go, Michael. I'll follow up.
Long and short of it is to apply for the benefit. You know, if they decline it because you don't have unemployment monies in your account, because of lack of work, then they're going to explain that to you. But when in doubt, I would suggest applying for unemployment.
Yeah, and I'll just follow up by saying that if you've exhausted your traditional unemployment, you should apply for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA. It's actually designed to kind of fill that gap for folks who may be exhausted. Well, it's supposed to cover folks who don't qualify for traditional unemployment. And since you've exhausted those benefits, you would not qualify for traditional, but you could actually submit a PUA application.
And we're going to be getting to that in the next part of the presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Next question, a little bit lengthy. I was laid off from my company for the entire year of 2019. And while I was looking for a job in my scientific area, I started a self-employed photography business in 2019, which was affected by the pandemic since March 1st, 2020. Which unemployment benefit should I be applying through? The regular unemployment assistance or PUA as a self-employed?
This is Lori. I can answer that. I would say apply through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, and Abra will be discussing that later.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, moving on. Is one still eligible if they have a future job but will be unemployed for several months?
Yes.
Yep. Yes. So if you haven't started your job yet, but you were already, you were scheduled, you were supposed to start, and then the pandemic hit, you can actually apply for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance because you have insufficient wages for traditional unemployment, but you could probably qualify for PUA.
Your wages are tracked through your Social Security number, so they're going to see that there were no wages earned during the 2 months or prior to you starting the job. So you are eligible for unemployment benefits until you start the job.
Great. So this is another wage-based question: how to report 1099 forms for income.
This is Lori. If you only have self-employment income, that would go under the Pandemic Unemployment Program that Abra will be discussing a little bit later.
Yep, and you would just report your earnings. So they're without taxes taken out, but you could just add them to the application. And then if there's a follow-up for requested documentation, you would just add the 1099 there.
Thank you, Lori and Abra. Another question: how does unemployment interact with unfunded graduate students?
I think, yeah, I've done some reading on this. Unfortunately, I don't think either program currently covers work-study students, and so I'm assuming that would apply to graduate students. But when in doubt, again, I would call the Department of Unemployment Assistance and just submit an application and see what happens.
Perfect. If you work for a temp agency, what should you list for reason for unemployment?
Well, that would be if you've been laid off from your assignment, you would call it a layoff, but you are still eligible for unemployment because you've earned wages while you were on the assignment. Whether it's temporary or permanent, doesn't matter. The wages is what matters. And as long as you've earned wages, you should be applying for unemployment. You list that you were laid off or that you stopped going to work because of COVID-19.
Great, thank you, Michael. So here's a question that we hear often: is the application available in any other language?
So
I can maybe answer this question. So application for the initial filing, if you are filing through the phone number, which is 617-626-6800, you can actually have access to different languages. And if you are filing for the first time online, fortunately, you actually had to file it in the English language first. And then you can request for further informations be communicated to you in your native language.
This is Felipe. The application is also available in Spanish. There is a, when you go to the website, you are able to select the Spanish language as well.
Thank you, Jan and Felipe. Let's do another question. My job as a public school teacher for the following year, starting in September, is going to part-time from full-time. Would I qualify for unemployment?
Apply for unemployment benefits.
Yeah, if you're reducing your hours, you should qualify for unemployment.
Great. I think we have time for maybe one more question. Let's see. Trying to see what we have here. My application was approved since May 5th, but I haven't received any benefits into my bank or communication from DUA. What should I do?
This is Lori. I've been working with a number of people who've had problems like that. Just call the helpline. They can open your account, look into it, see what the problem is. I've had little problems such as they just couldn't read a number. So just call the helpline. We will put that number up. I think it was up in the chat, and we will be, that is going to be up on a screen very soon. They've been very helpful.
Thank you, Lori. Before I actually move on, I do want to ask one more question that I see asked very frequently. I was laid off. Due to COVID-19, do I still have to look for a job?
If it's a permanent layoff, yes, you will have to look for another job. But you are eligible for benefits, and the extended benefits during this pandemic period. But yes, you need to perform your 3 work search activities. It could be working on your resume, posting your resume to various forums, talking to previous employers. There can be any number of activities that would qualify for your 3 activities per week. But yes, you do need to look for a job. And there is information on their website about what is considered a work search activity.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to pass it over to Jan, Career Education Advisor for the Community Learning Center. Jan, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Janardi. So this next subsection, it's continuation of filing for your unemployment. One of the most common pitfalls that we see with clients is not requesting weekly benefit after they have filed for unemployment. Apple doesn't fall from the sky. You have to get them every week. You must log back to the UI website to request benefit every week. The following screenshots were taken with the claimant's permission and walk us through the step-by-step process of requesting weekly benefit after initial filing for unemployment. Log back to the Massachusetts UI Online application website using your Social Security number. Make sure you check the box stating that you understand the paragraph above. Enter and confirm your Social Security number and hit next. Super important on this section. Moving forward, do not use the back button at the top of your web browser window. Only use the previous or next button provided at the bottom of the page. And also make sure your Social Security number matches each other, and then you type in correctly. This is your home page after your benefit has been approved. You can always go back to retrack your weeks. However, in order for you to get your check sooner, try to fill it out right after the week finish, which runs from the following week, Sunday to Saturday, and the website is open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. for business. Some questions that we often get is, what if I forgot to request my weekly benefit from 3 weeks ago? voila, you can always go back to request that specific week as the arrow, the red arrow pointed there. You will not receive your UI funds every week unless you go through this process. For here, you click on request benefit as the at the bottom of the page. And carefully review the contact information on this page. If you need to make any change, hit update first and then hit confirm. Or if everything is accurate from the beginning, click confirm and continue. You will need to answer these initial questions every week when you file for weekly benefits. This is one of the major pitfalls that applicants overlook after they initially file. You will not get paid unless you go through this weekly process. As I mentioned before, apple doesn't fall from the tree. We have to do this every week. Basically, the DUA wants to know if you were offered a new job or have received any other means of income. Has your employment status changed ever since filing for unemployment? If your employment status did change from your initial, please be prepared to answer where your new income is coming from, such as name of employer, salary or wage, or full-time or part-time. If you are working but have fewer hours, you are still eligible for partial unemployment. Depending on how you answer these questions, you might need to enter more information. Again, do not go back. Press the back button at the top of web browser. You only use the previous or the next button at the bottom of the page. In this slide, after you have read the work search requirement, you must check the statement stating that you have read and understand the above information before you hit next. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to move to the next page. It might feel like they want to know every information from you, but they do need to know that. This is the work search verification questionnaire. In order to process your request for payment for each week, you must answer these questions regarding your work search activities. Check off the other job search activity and briefly describe what you've been doing to look for a job. Example includes you have stayed in contact with your previous employer, you have applied to a job online using job search engines such as Indeed or LinkedIn. Next question is, how many days did you perform work search activities this week? This can really vary, but you should try to have at least 1 day. If you are in contact with your previous employer, put 1 day. This is just an example of what one's weekly request might look like. It really varies. DUA is not really expecting anyone to physically go out at this moment during pandemic to look for a job. So do what you can do online and go through your professional or personal network. During the pandemic, as long as you stay in contact with your employer, you can just state it here and click next. It is important to know that you must be able to work, available to work, and actively seeking to work in order to be eligible for an employment benefit. You must complete a work search log every single week to claim benefits. On this page, you are no longer if you are no longer in connection with your previous employer, you have to specify what kind of job search activity you are engaged in. If you hit add, it will bring you to the next slide. Enter the work search detail here. Note if you mention your contact information was using a phone number, then you must enter the phone number on the next line, and then you can hit submit. If you need to add more employers or job search leads, then click on ads. Once you have done that week, hit next. We are going toward the end of it. So this page is the last page to confirm your weekly benefit. Make sure you check the acknowledge box and hit submit. This is your confirmation page for the week you are requesting benefits. You can see the circle in red. Again, it is important to know that you must go through this process every week, and it's important for you to do that every week so you can get your money on time. Visit mass.gov/DUA for more recent information on applying for weekly benefits. What if you have no internet? So there's an option to file for claim over the phone, but it does take more time. The phone number is 617-626-6800. You can also call 1-877-626-6800 for the call center. And remember, their office hour, it's only from 8:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. However, they are also open on Saturdays from 8 to 12 for your convenient reasons. Multilingual call agents are available. And now we will be shifting to my colleague, Abra, who's education and career advisor and a teacher at the CLC, who will review who's eligible for PUA and how to file for it. Abra?
Sure. Hi, thank you, Yen. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Lori. That was an awesome, really clear overview of traditional unemployment. I am going to talk about a new program that was funded through the Federal CARES Act called the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And we do have some screenshots here. They've been taken from the mass.gov website. So this is exactly what you will see when you're actually applying on the internet. Okay, so everyone always asks, well, who's covered for PUA? And it's specifically designed to cover folks who do not qualify for traditional unemployment. There's a whole list up on the website, but one example could be, just like the gentleman brought up earlier, about having exhausted traditional unemployment benefits, but still being unemployed due to COVID-19. Again, due to COVID-19 being the really important word here, because the program was funded as part of COVID-19 relief. So it needs to be related to COVID-19 in some way. For example, let's say you were going to start a job and you actually don't have any hours yet, but the workplace closed before you could start. That could qualify for you for the program. Additionally, if you don't meet the income requirements for traditional unemployment, for example, you made under $5,100 in the last 4 calendar quarters, then you could actually also apply for the program. Another word or another name for the program that folks have probably heard is unemployment for gig workers. And that is actually very much so the case. It is also unemployment for folks who are independent contractors. Let's say you're driving for a rideshare service, you're doing deliveries, you're a personal shopper, you would be covered through this program. Additionally, if you are self-employed, for example, you're renting out a chair in a barbershop or a tattoo parlor, you could apply for this program as well. Okay, so this is the homepage. This is what you'll see when you go to both apply for pandemic unemployment assistance and also to log in every week, just like Yen said, to claim those benefits. You have to do it for traditional unemployment and also for PUA, but you'll actually click if you need to apply for the program. Right there, you can see that little red circle around it. And once you hit that, you will see a whole list of documents. So just like everyone's saying, make sure to get those documents together in advance. This application times out. It's timed out on me a couple times. Then you got to start all over again. There's no auto saving. You really do need to make sure you have everything. So you got to have your social security number, date of birth, driver's license or state ID. If you're not a US citizen, get that USCIS number from your green card, home address or mailing address if it's different, cell phone. This is super important because every time you log into PUA, if you're going in to claim benefits or check your account, you're actually going to get a number texted to your phone, and you're going to need to enter in that number each time too. So it's really important to enter in that information correctly and have your phone on you when you are trying to get into the system. Also your email address, that's really important because if you're applying online, that's like your username. So you do enter in your email address each time, and you really need that to be able to retrieve any communications from DUA. Finally, wage records are really important. These need to These reflect your wages, and you're going to be asked for that information. So 1099s, W-2s, 1040s, whatever you have that reflect your wages, you definitely need that. And if you do want to do direct deposit, you need that bank account number and routing number for your checkings or savings account. Okay, now I want to say here, just like with traditional unemployment, the language is tricky. It is complicated, and for folks who are not native English speakers or who are kind of beginning readers, they really want to try to seek out support from a friend or family member. It can be very confusing, and I can't kind of emphasize that enough. It's really helpful to have an advocate or an ally with you completing this process. So what you would do is you would check off all of the qualifications that are relevant to your personal situation. Again, you need to have been impacted by COVID-19 in some way, but you could fit all of these, you could fit multiple of these categories. So it's important to check off all of them that apply. Now, what will happen is that if what you're going to need to do below certifying that you were affected for the reasons above is a date. So you actually do need to enter in, this is very important, the date that you started to be affected by COVID-19, which affected your employment, because that's going to be that date when the benefits will kick in from. So it's important to enter that date in factually. So then you'll end up hitting next, yep, and it'll take you to your benefit eligibility. Now this kind of screens out folks who actually should be applying for traditional unemployment. What'll happen is if you check, for example, did you earn more than $5,100 of unemployment income from employers who took taxes out of your paycheck in 2019? Again, who took taxes out, that is kind of the important term there. If you hit yes, there's going to be this little red writing that pops up and says, hey, you should apply for traditional unemployment first. And you should. So do like the red letters tell you. Similarly, if you have clicked that you were getting benefits and you haven't exhausted the benefits on a traditional claim, that red text will show up again. So it's really important that if you do see that, go apply for traditional unemployment first. And just to add to it, you really you cannot have two claims, so you can't apply for traditional unemployment and then apply for PUA if your claim wasn't denied. So if it's still pending, you're not sure what's going on, you do have to wait, because if you apply for both applications are going to be invalid. So you definitely want to wait on applying for PUA if you've already submitted an application for traditional unemployment. Okay. All right, so this is where you're going to enter in all of those wages, and it's going to be different depending on if you are self-employed, if you're a gig worker, or if you actually were having taxes taken out of your paycheck, but again, you didn't make that $5,100. It's going to be either net or gross. This little blurb here summarizes how you can, the forms you should use, and kind of if you should enter net or gross. And again, it's all like all employment, so it's not just one job. If you had a bunch of jobs in 2019, you want to enter in the wages together. Dependent children, now if you do have a child, that child can only be claimed on one unemployment application. So if you have a partner or someone else in your life who has claimed that child already on an unemployment application, you can't claim them again. And then you'll see to the right, we have availability and earnings. Now this is a very similar line to what you would see on traditional unemployment, but the difference is other than as impacted by COVID-19. Okay, so if you're sick with COVID-19, sure, you are not able to work, but if you weren't impacted by COVID-19, yes, you would be able to work. So you definitely want to answer yes to that. If you answer no, then you don't qualify for the program. Okay, and then you just see there's like a little blurb below it. It asks about if you had earnings in excess of $89 between March 29th and May 16th. If you did, that's great, answer yes. Again, just like traditional unemployment, even if you're not totally laid off, you have no work whatsoever, you could still qualify. So you definitely want to answer that truthfully. Okay, yep. So after you pass through that entering your wages, you'll actually be led to a page for personal information. Again, enter all of this in 100% accurately, truthfully, no misspellings whatsoever. Don't create problems for DUA. It delays your application. You do need a social security number to qualify for unemployment. So that's really important to know. And of course, it's really important to know that number to enter it in. Also, you will, if you answer that you're not a US citizen, you'll be asked to enter in your USCIS number. And we'll show later what the ID looks like. The number is kind of hard to find. So we just want to make sure that you all know where to find that part. You don't see it on this page, but actually right below here, if you were looking at the website, you would see a space that asks for your address. It's kind of weird. It asks you to verify it. Just verify it. You're going to enter in your regular address. The address with like the full zip code will show up. You'll click OK to verify that. But if your mailing address is different, you are going to want to enter in your mailing address. That's particularly important because if you're going to get mail communications from DUA, if you're asking for your debit card, you want that going to the right place. You want to get that debit card. Okay, so after that page, you'd end up being sent to a payment preferences page where you could say if you want the debit card or you want to enter in bank account and routing number for a checking or saving account. So if you want direct deposit or the debit card, and then you'd actually end up setting up your account. So you would be asked to do a password. It's different from traditional unemployment in which you need that special character. You really just need a mix of capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, but obviously it can't be your email because then someone would probably try to get into your account. And so from there you would submit it. Again, it's not complete until it's submitted and your application does not autosave. So if you forget to go through all of the different stages, and you can't skip stages either. So if you don't go through every single page and enter everything in correctly, you're going to have to start all over. So again, just be mindful of that. Get all those materials in advance. Now, like I said, the wording is tricky, particularly more so for folks who are beginning readers or beginning readers in English. Here's an example, quote, if you're able to work from home, have you made a voluntary decision to not work from home? I think that's confusing. There's a lot of no's and nots. So you want to answer no, okay? Sure, like maybe you'd love to work from home, but your job won't allow it, right? So you haven't chosen not to work from home, you can't. So you're going to answer no there. Did you earn more than $5,100 of employment income from employers who took taxes out of your paycheck in 2019? There's also, that's a lot of words, totally. But again, it's who took taxes out of your paycheck. So if last year you made $10,000 driving for Uber Lyft or like doing delivery, that's totally fine. You're actually not having taxes taken out of your paycheck when you are an independent contractor. So you would answer no to that one. Okay, again, you can only claim a dependent on one unemployment application, so make sure that you are kind of figuring out with whoever else is in that child's life if they have entered that dependent or not, because you definitely can't enter it again. Make sure, like I said, to have your phone with me if you're going in to claim benefits or check your account after the fact, because you are going to get a code texted, and if you don't enter in that code, you're not going to get on. Okay. So now I'm just going to go over some of the common pitfalls when filing for unemployment benefits. It is tricky, and it's tricky kind of all throughout the process. So we're going to talk about some of the common pitfalls before you apply, while you're applying, after you've applied, and while you're requesting weekly benefits. Okay, so again, we are emphasizing this. It is like your life story. It is a heck of a lot of information. It feels kind of weird, but you do want to make sure you have all that information together before you apply. That's really important. Have your W-2, especially if you're applying for traditional unemployment. Okay, that is all the numbers and all the important, the name of your employers, all that information that you need. Budget enough time, right? Because you don't want to start and then not finish, because then you got to start all over again. Similarly, you don't want to go digging for materials, so get everything ready. For traditional unemployment, if you're trying to retrieve a password or verify your account, it can be tricky to do so on a phone. So if you don't have a personal computer, I really encourage you to find a friend or family member who has one, so that if you do need to get back into your account because you lost your password, you are able to log on. Finally, I know I always get kind of confused by this. What's the checking number? What's the routing number? Okay, it's if you have a physical check, that routing number is on the bottom left of the check. Alternately, you can also just call your bank. You will need to enter that information if you're signing up for direct deposit. Here's just a little slide about where you can find that number that you're going to need to enter if you're not a US citizen. Okay, and like we said, it's really important to read things carefully. DUA is not trying to trick you, but they are trying to be really, really specific and make sure the right people are getting the right benefits. So you want to be very careful and find a friend or advocate in some way who can help you get the language if you don't understand it. With that tricky little box that we talked about with traditional unemployment, that first page you see when you go to log on to your account or apply, you got to check the box. Check the box before your social security number. If not, you're going to enter in your social twice. You're going to click to go to the next page. You're going to have the whole social security number wiped out again and have to do it again and over and over and over until you realize, oh, I didn't click the box. Click the box. Also, don't use the back button. You want to be careful with this because if you hit back, you might just get booted from your application. So use the next or previous buttons on the DUA system so that you don't lose your information. Also, this one's huge. Everyone forgets their password in security question. And if you forget your password or the answer to your social security question, or you're going to have to call DUA and be on the phone for a while. They're awesome. They are really helpful. They are very overloaded. So please write down that information carefully. Making mistakes actually is something that can really delay you getting your benefits. It's particularly common if you have someone applying for you. So I really encourage you to, if you're working with someone, to do it together because they might enter in the wrong email address for you. That's a big problem if you want to get notifications from DUA or if you want to log in. They might enter in incorrect wages. That can be an issue with fraud. So you really have to be careful to make sure that you know what that person is putting in and that you're working with them. And also you might not know your password either. So you definitely want to be careful there. Again, claiming benefits, like Yen said, Sunday starts a new week, okay? But if you're calculating benefits, you don't count the Sunday that you're claiming benefits on, okay? You're counting the Sunday before. So if you're like on the DUA system and it's Sunday and you're like, yes, I can get my benefits, don't count the hours from the Sunday that you're physically claiming benefits on. You claim the previous Sunday. That's the work week. Okay, finally, once you have applied, you are going to get requests for information. And this is huge because those requests are time sensitive. So you really want to make sure that you're checking your mailbox, your snail mail, your email, the UI inbox, which is actually your inbox on the online systems, which you actually can find when you log on to the DUA website, and also your text messages as well. Make sure to answer the request promptly, but the tricky thing is that now it's the age of the smartphone. Everyone likes to take pictures of things, upload it. The systems don't accept JPEGs or PNGs, which is the file type of a picture from your phone. So you actually are going to need to physically scan your materials, whether it's like a 1099 or a W-2 or whatever. And you can do that by visiting Staples or another like office supply store. You could also download a PDF scanning app to your phone like Genius Scan. It's totally free. It'll seem like it's taking a picture. It's actually making a PDF. All right, finally, we all just want to make folks aware of scams. Unfortunately, some very bad people are taking advantage of all of our vulnerabilities and pretending to be job recruiters, the IRS, or even the Department of Unemployment Assistance to obtain sensitive personal information and sell it. So folks have been receiving phone calls asking for social security numbers. There's even fake DUA websites that kind of look like the real thing. The difference is they don't end in .gov, they end in .org, .com, .ru, .it, something else. You might be asked to upload materials to those sites. Don't do it. If you have a request for documentation, then you're going to upload materials. If it's just a website that you have stumbled upon asking to apply for unemployment, it's a bit of a red flag to immediately ask for that documentation. Similarly, there have been emails going around that ask you to enter personal information to obtain your DUA debit card. And you're not going to get an email asking you to go onto a website to get your DUA debit card. That's something you've requested while applying for either program. I actually got a phone call about this that actually asked about my unemployment and asked for my social security number. And I never requested a call from DUA. So unless you went online and actually requested a call back from someone at the Department of Unemployment Assistance, you're not just going to get a cold call from them. So don't answer that phone. And of course, there's all this stuff out there that lets a number show up as the IRS and all of that. No, you're not going to get called about your stimulus check either. A random recruiter probably isn't going to ask you for your resume if you haven't uploaded it somewhere. So just really be vigilant and only apply for government benefits using .gov web pages. That's really, really important to emphasize. Moreover, government benefits, applying for them is free. So if someone's asking you to enter in, your credit card number to pay to apply, that is a big red flag. You should not have to pay for government benefits. If you do need help applying, there are folks who are very happy to help you. Here we have the Metro North Career Centers, which you can actually access online. And you can also call them. There's a Cambridge Center, a Woburn Center, and a Chelsea Center. So you definitely want to give them a buzz if you have questions. All right, thank you. So now I'm going to hand it off to Sue Walsh. She's the Assistant Director of Adult and Family Services at the Department of Human Service Programs for the City of Cambridge.
Thank you so much, Abra. Well, first of all, I just want to thank our presenters. This is complicated information. There's a lot that can trip applicants up. And so we appreciate you going through step by step, and it is a lot to absorb. So this information will be on the Job Connector website so that you can go back and go through this presentation. So just want to take a couple minutes to recognize what the Office of Workforce Development and the Community Learning Center and the Job Connector are doing to support residents in this difficult time. This is the second in a series of 3 workshops that we're offering. Next week's workshop will be on Thursday at 10 a.m. and it will be delivered by our partners at the Job Connector. And the title of that is Staying Job Ready in the Time of COVID. And so we need folks to continue to be thinking about their skills, what they have to offer, how to present that, how to interview in a different way. So please tune in next week and you'll get some tips and tricks on that. In terms of staying up to date on what the city is doing in terms of responding to COVID, there's a lot of information on the city's website, and there's specific information around food insecurity, support services for seniors, and others. So if you're interested in getting information from the city and daily updates, please go to cambridgema.gov/COVID-19. I'm happy to say that our presenters have agreed to stick around. There's a lot of questions that have come up in our Q&A section. So we're going to turn it back over to our second Q&A, and Hector will facilitate that. So I invite you to stay on, listen to the answers, and please, please make sure that you are reaching out to the Community Learning Center, to friends and family, to others who can help you apply for unemployment benefits, because it is not a straightforward process, but it's an important process. Thank you. Is Hector available?
Hello, yes, I am. Thank you so much. We want to thank all of our participants for some amazing questions, and our panelists. We know that during this time, the information that we have today is extremely important. So please feel free to share and connect, and always contact us if you have any questions. We have and a very important question to any one of the panelists. What do you think is some of the biggest challenges in applying for unemployment insurance or PUA?
I would say one of the challenges is if you enter incorrect information or make some mistakes initially, it's going to cause a delay, and it may cause it to be declined. You know, there's even a button as you go through to accept benefits. If you hit decline by accident, you're going to decline that week, and now you're going to be trying to get that week paid. So take your time, enter the accurate information. I feel like that's what I've been seeing. One of the biggest pitfalls is just maybe moving too quickly through it and entering the wrong information. So be careful on that.
This is Yan. One of the challenge I have encountered is helping clients that's not, so one of my clients forgot her tele-certified PIN. So some clients, they don't use a password, they rather use a PIN. And that's impossible to retrieve that PIN at the moment. So my client has been calling in to the UI office every week to report their status instead of doing it online. So anything that's like kind of in the password or filing for an employment online, a weekly report, it's hard to get someone to help you at this moment on the phone for those.
Yeah, I would say some of the wording is really complicated too. That's why I think we're really emphasizing that if you aren't totally sure if you understand what's being asked of you, you find someone to help you understand. And then you can avoid some of those mistakes, hopefully.
And let's say I am filling out an application for somebody else. Is there a separate process for that?
Not that I'm aware of. You probably have to do it together, sitting down together and following the screens together.
Yeah, also if you're calling DUA, you want to do it on a group talk call, on a conference call, because that person will need to be present on the phone. Even if they have limited English, they just still need to be there and say that it's okay for you to answer some questions on their behalf.
Fantastic, thank you. Our next question is, I got accepted for a US Census position and have not paid into the system in the last 15 months. Will I be eligible for unemployment then?
If you're referring to now, the best bet would be to go through the pandemic unemployment assistance, because you haven't worked in 15 months. You can try both, of course. You know, my advice is, when in doubt, apply for unemployment. But if you haven't worked in 15 months, you probably don't have the wages that are current enough to get the standard unemployment, but you will have better luck with the pandemic unemployment assistance. So I would go through that process and apply.
Fantastic, thank you. And quickly, do you have any success stories so far? What does it look like from your experience, from some of the folks that you've helped apply?
This is Felipe. I think the best example that I can give is there were news that it was taking a long time to apply for to get the benefits, but if you do the things right, unemployment kicks in very quickly. So you could fill out an application and you get an answer in 2 days, and you get the first check at the end of the first week. So that's a very successful process, and it's very rewarding for students and for us that are helping them file for unemployment. So that's, I think, a good success story.
Fantastic, thank you. And do you think there's a stigma behind applying for any one of these programs? And if there is, what should folks do about it?
Culturally, I think that some people are not aware that this benefit exists. I mean, when we're helping our clients, some of them, what is unemployment? What does that mean? Is this good for me to apply? Do I have to pay taxes? There's a lot of misinformation, or people simply don't know. For a lot of people, this is their first jobs, or they are new immigrants to the country. So getting to understand this is a benefit, and this is a benefit that helps in emergency situations like what we're going through right now. So, I mean, I think that informing clients of what claiming benefits is, and this is a right that they have.
I would like to go ahead, Jan.
Sure. So one of the things that I also encounter is the stigma of, should I apply for it? Would that be a burden on my employer for those people who are going back to their job, right? And my answer to them is always apply for it. Your employer actually pays for it, right? as an employment insurance. And for you to file for these employment, your employer actually has to approve it for you to, in order for you to get these money. So your employer is definitely on the supporting side of it for you in this process.
Yes, please remember, this is your money that has been taken out of your check while you've been working and put into an unemployment pool for you. Your employer has had to match that money and put money into that pool as well. You are not burdening your employer by filing for unemployment. Make no mistake on that. The money has gone into the pool. It has to be paid by your employer weekly, monthly, quarterly, however they have it set up. But you're paying for it out of your check every week. That money is yours. It's there for this reason. You are now unemployed through no fault of your own. You now need to access this money. It's yours. Do not have any stigma about filing for the money that you've worked for, that was taken out of your check and is in a pool for you to collect.
Fantastic. So I think we have time for a few more questions. Would you be able to apply for both regular unemployment and PUA at the same time?
No, definitely not. If you do that, both of your applications will be invalid. So if you've already applied for traditional unemployment, you do have to wait. If your application is denied, then you can apply for pandemic unemployment assistance, and then there won't be an issue. So, but you do have to kind of do one or the other, and do as particularly vigilant, because you can go through the act of applying for both, right? But you shouldn't be getting funds for both. So yeah, definitely apply for one program and one program only until you've been denied by that one program.
Similarly, if you qualify for PUA, you should not apply for the regular unemployment, because you will not be accepted into the regular unemployment. And, you know, when everything started, a lot of people who were gig workers or self-employed were applying for the regular unemployment, and they just lost their time because that was not supposed to happen.
Yep.
Fantastic, thank you. Our next question is, I was in the process of petitioning for my mother. Will this unemployment benefit affect my status of my application?
So I can actually answer this question. So it is not. So it's not actually considered as a public burden or public charge for you to apply for unemployment. As Michael mentioned before, you actually pay for it in the system, and your employer matches that. So it's not a public charge for the government.
But I would also recommend talking to an immigration lawyer for that question in terms of the legal aspects of that. I don't think there's a problem, but I think that checking with a lawyer, or like the city immigration clinics, you should contact them and see an answer. That will also be helpful.
This is Lori. There is language on I guess the USCIS website that says that the Immigration Services will take into account the totality of the request. It's not 100% clear, so definitely I would echo what Felipe says. Check with a lawyer who has more experience with this kind of thing.
Can I jump in here as well? Just want folks to know that if they do have questions around these issues, they can contact De Novo Legal Services in Cambridge, and they will be able to guide you through that process. So I'll try to put that phone number in the chat.
All right, and our last question is, if the termination of a job contract is not directly related to COVID-19, but it's not my fault, will the benefits be different?
No.
Yeah.
You're eligible for unemployment, and it's based on the wages that you've earned. So the benefit amount won't be different, and the status won't be different. By all means, apply.
Yeah, you would probably just apply for the traditional program. But if your wages aren't adequate, if they're not enough for traditional unemployment, you could still apply for PUA. So yeah, just like Michael said, just try.
And the best thing is that if you invest an hour in applying for unemployment and at the end something happens and you don't qualify, and they will let you know. But it's good to, don't make the decision before applying. Just apply and get the result that will come out of your application process.
Fantastic. Well, once again, we want to thank all of our panelists for such amazing information. It was incredible. We also want to thank all of our participants for asking amazing questions. And we want to remind you that our presentation will be made available on the Job Connector website, as well as other platforms. So don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter in order to remain up to date. Again, we want to thank all of our panelists and all of our partners and collaborators for joining us. And don't forget to join us next week. Thank you again. Have a great day.